Welcome to Ingram Micro's B2B Tech Talk, where we dive into the trends, strategies, and stories shaping the future of business technology. I'm your host, Tiffani Bova, and joining me are Rafael Marangoni, Executive Director of Global Cloud Services at Ingram Micro, and Carlos Diego, Chief Executive and Technology Officer at Valcann. Today, we're talking about how high-performing cloud and AI businesses are driving growth in a market that's evolving faster than ever. We'll explore how AI is reshaping IT budgets, why cloud marketplaces are changing the game, and what partners must do to turn cloud into a true engine for innovation and recurring revenue. Let's dive in. Guys, let's talk big picture. AI is moving so fast. It's almost every day there's a new frontier model, like every 24 hours. And it is not going to slow down. Maybe it's going to be every 6 hours soon. But how are you seeing that really impact the channel and the channel landscape?
Well, I would say that for the last probably 3 years, we've been seeing a lot of changes from a simply infrastructure perspective when we talk about cloud to talk more about industry solutions, right? So how can we solve industry problems? So more than simply talk about technologies and specifically address abstractions as we used to for the last 2-3 years. Now what we've been seeing is that how can you solve like the manufacturing problem? How can you solve this retail problem? So I would say that more and more what we'll see is solutions that are developed to address specific problems. And I think AI can accelerate that not only on the efficiency perspective, but also what we can do it, right? So what we can do with it. So I would say that, yeah, we'll see more and more efficiency and acceleration using AI, probably.
Yeah, and Rafa, for you, in the distribution landscape, moving technology is what you do. And I think AI is accelerating that, and also what kind of technology. So on the end user outcome side and the partner side that's closest to the end user, that makes sense. But from a distribution standpoint, you have your own set of challenges because of the pace of this. What are you seeing?
Absolutely. So I think you're absolutely spot on. So it's a very traditional business, right, that we are in. So the mental model that we have been implementing is like, first, we need to use AI. So we are making a lot of investments to make sure that we are implementing AI on the entire, let's say, customer life cycle. And we mean about customer here is like the partner, right? To make sure that we are like improving the being more efficient, right, and more smart, and like actually making sure that the people that we have in the company have more time to have more valuable conversations or more meaningful conversations with partners and customers. And I think that it's absolutely great to be in the middle of a huge ecosystem like we are in Ingram, like between partners, vendors, and end customers, where we can actually help those stakeholders, let's say, to bundle like products and services to make sure that we have solutions that, to Diego's point, right, can address industry needs around the globe. Because the technology, right, by itself, doesn't drive outcomes directly, right? We need to bundle this in a smart way to actually provide this. So for us, it's like first use it, then build it, and then sell it.
Right, and I think the entire question we have is, what's the ROI on the spend in AI specifically? And, we went through this with cloud. I feel like this is I don't want to say a repeat, because the pace in which it's changing and moving is much more accelerated than that of cloud. But in looking at that conversation around IT budgets moving and end user customers now seeing that and making decisions about that IT budget, specifically around that return, there's varying degrees of, depends who you listen to, right? The ROI is going to be X, or the ROI is going to be Y, or no one's seeing an ROI right now. What are you seeing in the wild, right, with customers as it relates to those budgets?
I think, everything ends up on understanding the domain of the process, right? Because in the end, when we are talking about AI, and when we are talking about efficiency and cloud and technology in general, eventually we have to address two things, right? One is cost reduction, and the other thing is how we increase revenue. So I would say that at some point, to analyze the ROI, we should look on how that specifically offering or how that specific project can address those two things. How can I reduce cost, and how can I increase revenue? So I would say that it's still tricky, to understand ROI in specific projects. But if you have the domain knowledge, if you understand that market, if you understand that industry, we'll probably understand how can you connect those two things. But again, I would repeat that. I would say in the end, you have to understand how can you reduce cost and increase revenue.
Yeah, and I think, Rafa, this is a perfect setup for marketplaces, right? The marketplace explosion is happening. We believe at Futurum that marketplace is the next hyper-growth go-to-market motion for most manufacturers, ISVs, and obviously also distribution. And so as, partners might still treat cloud as a transaction, how are you seeing the marketplace maybe shift that mindset to getting more towards those, up-leveled services, and then maybe even pushing some of those partners into more ISV-like behaviors? What are you seeing from a marketplace perspective?
Absolutely spot on. I think it's a great. I think when we talk to hyperscalers like AWS and Microsoft, the fastest growing business and marketplace are services, right? And for one reason, right? I think a lot of partners are realizing how big is the opportunity to bundle this. And also when we see the ISVs, right, you always need services to drive the right adoption for them. So I think what we're expecting is, as you mentioned, right, a huge growth moving forward. Marketplace are here to stay. There's no coming back. And all the partners around, they have to be part of this. They have to think about this, about this as a very critical strategy on their business, and some of them, they don't think that way still, but they need to realize that it's absolutely critical for that moving forward strategy and success of the business.
Yeah, and AWS and Microsoft have programs to help partners sort of unlock that value. How important do you think that is for cloud providers, hyperscalers, working with distribution in those marketplaces is for partners such as yourself? Carlos, on what are the things that work best for you?
Well, yeah, I would say that those programs are very important, especially because we are in the beginning of the process, right? So at some point we have to address the clients and show them the value of this, and you have to do investments. So I think the cloud vendors can help the partners thrive in this market, not only providing investments, direct funds to the project, but also engaging technical teams, creating campaigns to kind of evangelize the audience on what are the opportunities that we have in that market. So yeah, I would say that it's very important to have vendors like Microsoft, AWS working together with the partners. Again, not only talking about investments to accelerate those programs, those projects, but also to engage technical staff, to engage content, generation, information, because it's everything so new, right? So we're just beginning, and I think it's a huge transformation, and we have to have everybody involved in this process.
Yeah, and I think, Rafa, one of the things I often hear is talent is the big bottleneck on a lot of this. I mean, there's a couple of big bottlenecks. One is sort of power, which we'll talk about later today, but it just in pure talent, because even back with cloud, it's like you couldn't go out and be like, I want 10 years experience in cloud in 2000, right? It's kind of like you can't say I want 10 years of experience in AI, although AI has been around. On the agentic front, we've really been accelerating of late, okay? But in thinking about talent, what are the things that Ingram is doing to really help the channel understand that? Because they're all driving towards recurring revenue. They're driving towards higher services and more stickiness with the customer, but that also requires a new talent.
Yeah, I think you talked before, like there is a lot of similarities between this time that we are right now, the agentic time, the hype around agents, and the cloud at the beginning, like 2010, 12. And I completely agree with you. But there is much less skepticism right now, right? So people are more eager to implement this. And I think all the partners, all the ecosystem, they realize that talent is still and will be needed as a critical component of success forever, right? So we need AI, we need more AI to be more efficient, to reduce operational burden, to be smarter, faster, whatever. But the people behind the scenes, or the people driving the success is what really important. It's really important. And one of the things that we have been doing around is a lot of talent-related investments. They are demanding. So it's a huge amount of capital that a lot of partners they need to invest, and a lot of them they are not ready to. So Ingram has been investing globally to build technical teams, services and cloud and AI teams to be able to support those partners, to build solutions, to deliver the solutions on their behalf to end customers. And this has been really critical for a lot of small businesses around the globe. I'm going to give you a quick example, Tiffani. So if we think about like a managed services, a cloud managed services practice, right? This is a multi-million-dollar investment that a lot of partners, they don't have the capital to do it, right? It's a long run. So we have been building those capabilities in order for them to get the benefits and leverage so they can focus on their solutions while we back them up with the services that they need to thrive.
Yeah, and I think the message in there that I caught was focus. You want to make sure you focus. I think it's really important. And whether that's focusing on an industry or a vertical or a solution, or to your point, Carlos, right, the outcome, like really focusing there and then investing in those certifications and the training and the specialization. It's really important. I often get in debates with those saying like, look, I don't want to invest in my people. I spend all this money on their certification and their training and then they leave. And I always say, well, imagine if you don't invest in them and they stay. Like, which one's worse, right? So we have to make those investments, number one. Number two, focusing them. But I also think that the talent and certification is one of those areas that requires thoughtfulness. And so I'm going to sort of go to you, Rafa, and say, who is really getting this right? Because we've talked about a lot of things, right? The shift AI, agentic, feels kind of like cloud, certification training, outcomes. Who are you seeing that's getting this right?
I think the companies that are succeeding most in cloud and AI are those that are focusing on recurring revenue, right? They are leveraging the marketplace to make sure that they are in this huge business. We're talking about like multi-billion dollars, right, business. They are building the talent, to your point, right? You need good people. You need the smart people, but also developing people to deliver the outcomes. We need to use AI, right, in all the way possibles, and we need to sell AI, right? And I think all those things together, they are really not, like completely unique, but with discipline and consistent delivery or strategy, you get there. I think that there's no silver bullet for this. You just need to be consistent on executing the right things systemically.
So I'm going to shift to you, Carlos. So what's one practical way a partner could get starting to embed this intelligent automation or AI right into their everyday service delivery? And I know one of the most popular use cases is really on workflow, right, and improvement in those workflows. So what's one practical way a partner can start down this path?
Yeah, well, I would say that so far we've been seeing a lot of technical development. So the partners, I would say for the last probably 10 years, focused a lot on developing technical skills, right? So how can you manage cloud, data, AI, those things separately? I would say that, of course, is important, but in the end, I would say that the domain understanding of that specific industry is the point where you start, right? So you work back from the client, from the customer, understanding the problem of the industries that you are used to work, and of course, how can you leverage the technologies that you have expertise to deliver a specific solution. I would say that for partners that are beginning, that are in the beginning of the journey, I would say that probably they should look for three things, right? So the first one is, what are the technical capabilities that they have that they can leverage on creating a solution, right? A product, a service line, or something like that. The second thing is, what are the industries that they understand, that they have use cases that can be helpful, that they can add as experience for that offering, and the business model. I think the business model, we talk about recurring revenue. We are used to, in the professional service field, we are used to work on project-based revenue. So I think more and more we are seeing recurring revenue as a trend and as a goal to address the business model issue. So yeah, I think there's those three things, right? So technical skills, how can you leverage those skills to a specific industry, and what is the business model that you have to offer?
That's fantastic. Well, look, we're almost out of time, but I would be remiss to not ask this question. But if you had to summarize one key mindset shift for cloud and AI partners could take away, and normally I say in the next 2 to 3 years, but let's not be that aggressive. Let's just say in the next 6 months, because things are moving so fast. Rafa, what would that be?
I think you need to think about selling not just as one shot, but as an experience. Like focus on your customer. Think about this as a journey. We're just at the beginning. Whatever, it doesn't matter on a marathon. It doesn't matter how fast or how quick you are on the second mile. So we are just getting started. So focus on the customer. Think about what they really need and build from there.
How about you, Carlos?
Well, I agree with Rafa. I think that we have to start from the customer, and I would say, how can you translate, those goals and those objectives into those two things: cost reduction and revenue increase. So you have to focus on translating the technical goals to those two, and I think you'll be successful talking to customers.
Well, this was a great conversation. Went by too fast. Thank you so much, Rafa and Carlos, for joining us today. It was an enlightening conversation. I hope you enjoyed it, and enjoy the rest of the sessions.